All right. Good afternoon and welcome to EDI CARES Pierce College Transfer Thursday Winter 2022 episode. I'd like to welcome everybody to the show. Thank you for having us here today. Thank you for coming and spending your time with us. We got some great transfer news for you guys. So we're got a guest from Evergreen State College, Laurie Arnold. My co-host here, Aki Smith. We're going to take you through some really great things here with not just only Evergreen, but we're also going to be doing the Common App and also talking about the WUE and stuff too, and then answering some of your questions at the end. So again, welcome to Transfer Thursday, and we're going to kick it off here with our special guest here from the Evergreen State College. The Evergreen State College, there's a couple campuses. You probably know that there's one down in Olympia. And what you may not know is that there is actually an Evergreen Tacoma campus. And that's downtown Tacoma. I believe it's right off around 6th Avenue, not around the corner there from the hospital, Tacoma General. So definitely great places to transfer. And so today we have Laurie Arnold, who's going to talk a little bit about Evergreen, and she has some slides. She's going to talk and answer some questions. It just kind of, get to know Evergreen. Certainly, if you want to know more, you can meet for a whole session of how do I get to Evergreen. So without further ado, please welcome Laurie Arnold to the show.
Unmute yourself, Laurie. That's the first thing to do. Am I unmuted now? Yes. Took me a second. It was just not wanting to unmute. I kept pressing the button. That's technology for you. So thanks so much, Teriyaki. I like that, the Teriyaki crew. That's cute. Thank you so much for having me. I am from the Evergreen State College Tacoma campus. I'm kind of curious if you all that are with us wouldn't mind using your little reaction button down on the left bottom of your screen to raise your hand or a thumbs up or make some kind of sign if you already knew there was a Tacoma campus of the Evergreen State College. All right, there are actually a few of you that knew that. That's great. The Evergreen State College has been around for coming up on our 50th year right now. The legislation that was created or that created Evergreen was passed in 1967, and I think the college opened its first doors to students in 1971, or maybe it was 72, because I know we're coming up on the 50th year if we're not in the 50th year now. And the Tacoma campus actually began not that long after, and it was at the kind of request from some local Tacoma community people who were kind of frustrated that there were all these great college, four-year college options, but they were either in Olympia, Evergreen, or Seattle, UW, etc. We're talking about state publicly funded colleges. Or you had to go to one of the two very expensive private institutions on either end of Tacoma, right? UPS or PLU. So, and especially for working adults, there just weren't that many options. It was, tough to try to figure out how to commute and do all of that and be able to get an affordable tuition. So Dr. Maxine Mims is the person who founded the Tacoma campus. She was an Evergreen faculty. She lived in Tacoma and traveled herself to Olympia every day to teach. And when she started the school, it really was as kind of a series of individual learning contracts with local Tacoma working folks. And she taught out of her own house. And then one of her colleagues, also from the Olympia campus, who lived next door to her in Tacoma, expanded it. So they kind of went back and forth, students went back and forth between these two faculty members' homes. And eventually, over the years, we grew and grew and grew until in 2001. So now we've been 20 years in the brand new building that was built for us on 6th Avenue, as Terry mentioned. So Evergreen, and I'm just going to give you a little teaser here so that maybe I might entice you to come to one of my info sessions, which is usually around 45 minutes to an hour long. and we can get into more details about how Evergreen works. But the benefits of an Evergreen education are that you can kind of craft your own path towards what you're very, very interested in. So we don't have predetermined majors in the sense where you are given a list of predetermined coursework that you have, classes that you have to take and sort of check off the boxes. There are offerings, and you get to pull from those offerings based on how you think they will prepare you for what you want to do in career and professional wise, and or because you're interested in those subjects and you want to learn more about them. And hopefully a lot of times those things cross over, but they don't have to. Actually, you can spend some of your time working on things that are very directly preparing you for your career, but you can also spend time in courses that just are feeding your interests and your passions otherwise. And all of it counts towards your degree. So you can't actually go wrong. You can't accidentally take things that don't count or accidentally miss things that you need. Everything that you do, every class that you take counts towards your degree. So what kind of degree are you going to get? It kind of depends on how focused you are. Everyone's degree, typically from Evergreen, unless you're going for a bachelor's of science, which is a whole different kind of a pathway and does have kind of some more requirements to it. Most people at Evergreen are earning a Bachelor of Arts, and the Bachelor of Arts just says that on your actual piece of paper. It says Bachelor of Arts. It's not going to say that it's in anything. What your Bachelor's of Arts is in kind of depends on you and how you choose to characterize it. So you might say that you have a Bachelor of Arts with an emphasis in education, or an emphasis in criminal justice, or an emphasis in organizational leadership, or any number of things, psychology, any number of things that you tended to focus on. And basically the kind of general rule is, if you can say that you've got at least 45 credits in total from your bachelor's degree in the thing that you are saying you emphasized in, that's a legitimate claim of an emphasis. So you can often have more than one emphasis because you need 180 credits total to get a bachelor's degree. And so you could have multiple 45 credit sort of blocks and emphasize in more than one thing. So that it's very, very flexible curriculum wise. It's also at the Tacoma campus very, very flexible schedule wise, because again, our program was really designed for the working adult. So our students tend to be a little bit older than the average college age. And by a little bit older, I'll say that the average age usually hovers around the late 30s to early 40s. And that's the average. So we always have people in their 20s and 30s, 40s and 50s, and 60s and 70s. We always have people in all of those decades attending our campus. The Tacoma campus is smaller than the Olympia campus, and even in Evergreen Olympia, the class sizes are quite small compared to a typical four-year college. But at Tacoma, they're even smaller because the campus itself is smaller. And we are located right there on 6th Avenue. If you're coming down 6th Avenue towards the hospital's neighborhood and you look off to your right, if you're coming down towards the hospital from like Sprague or Jason Lee area, if you know Tacoma, you'll see a building that has a brightly colored geometric mural on the front of it. That's the Evergreen State College Tacoma campus. And if you give me screen privileges, I will just share a couple of tiny things with you all. All right, looks like I've got that now. Can I get to my PowerPoint? That's the question. I thought I had it up already. Okay, well, we'll put that off for just a second then. Oh, there it is. Got too many tabs open, that's my problem.
I'm guilty of that too, Laurie.
Oh my gosh. All right, so here we go. And I have found that my PowerPoint has not been working quite right. It worked for the whole time that I was using it, and then all of a sudden it sort of stopped working correctly. let's just try it. If I try to put it in play mode, what it's been doing is going kind of gray, and I don't want it to do that. So let's just see if it'll not do that first. Yeah, see, it's grayed out. I don't know why it does that.
We can
So
see
we're just,
everything.
yeah, but it's just, I don't know. We're just gonna skip over that. So I mentioned that, you can create your own degree in many ways. At Evergreen Tacoma, what we have is an overall theme every year that we organize our studies around. So this year's theme is called Transformational Literacies, meaning we are getting literate in all kinds of things that will help us transform ourselves and our workplaces and our communities. So we're talking not just communication type literacy, but mathematical literacy, political literacy, community organizing literacy, all the different kinds of things we need to get literate in order to make things better in our communities. And so we have an organizing theme, and then we have these offerings that allow you to move through and choose from them so that you can emphasize in any one or more of these areas of study. So if you can see on the screen right now, off of this list of, I think it's 7 different areas of study, if you can see yourself being interested in any one of those areas of study, then the Tacoma campus would be a great place for you to study and work towards your goals. These represent some skill areas that all of our students are always working on all the time in all of our coursework. So they don't represent required things. They're just to give you an idea that these are all things you're going to get better at and become excellent at if you move through our curriculum. We are very concerned with research, understanding why things are the way they are, so that we can take effective action in order to make changes that make our workplaces and our communities and our world better places for us and our children to live in. I mentioned about the flexibility for the working adult. So our classes are held either 3 days or 3 evenings per week for approximately 3.5 hours altogether, with about a 20-30 minute break in the middle of each of those sessions. So our day students meet from 10 to 1:45, and our night students meet from 6 to 9:45. And one thing that we do all together is called Lyceum and Seminar. So we all attend that on Tuesdays, and then we have 2 other days that, depending on what we choose from the offerings, we're attending as well. So again, you're going to come 3 days a week or 3 evenings a week, and that's going to be a full-time load. And then the basic admission process is fill out an online application, have your official transcripts sent to the admissions office, which is located on the Olympia campus. All those sort of main offices are located there. And then if you would like to add an optional essay, or if you think you need to explain anything about maybe how some of your transcripts might look, I didn't always have the best transcripts throughout my life. And sometimes I wanted to explain a little bit about what was going on with me during the time that maybe my transcripts don't look as strong. That's totally optional, and you really only need to put that in there if you think you need to explain something. But if you want to add it anyway, even if you have very strong transcripts, that's certainly all right as well. And if you'll allow me, I will play a very short little video to kind of give you, hopefully, a flavor of the culture of our campus. We are now learning totally virtually. We are not in person. So I do want to mention that. This is just a 1-minute little thing.
Laurie,
Yes?
if there's audio to the video. Okay, great.
Uh-oh.
I was just going to suggest that you reshare one more time and click share sound as it asks you to.
Good point. I don't know why it just stopped on us, though. That was kind of weird. Seems like that's another thing that's been happening. This is just on YouTube, so I don't know why it's behaving strangely, but let me try not making it full screen. All right. That's the Evergreen State College Tacoma campus in a little nutshell.
Excellent. That's wonderful. Thank you very much, Laurie, for that. Is anybody have a quick question that's in attendance today for Laurie about Evergreen? Okay, so
If I
all
may,
right.
I might add one thing while people are thinking about their questions, because sometimes that happens. One thing I want to add is that Evergreen was pretty much the first, definitely the first state institution in Washington to accept prof tech degrees, like the Associate of Applied Science degrees that a lot of our community and technical colleges award. So like if you have an associate's in social service mental health, or you have an associate's in criminal justice, or early childhood education, or any of the Associate of Applied Science degrees, those are accepted just like regular transfer associate's degrees, with just a couple of little tweaks. You need to have taken an English composition like English 101 and gotten at least a 2.5 in that class, and you have to have at least a 2.0 overall GPA. But other than that, you get a full 90 credits of transfer when you come in with that degree, and that is not true at most other colleges. So that's another benefit to come into Evergreen.
Do they still call that the upside down degree?
Yeah, they call it the upside down transfer option now. They don't really say upside down degree, because it's the degree that you get at the end is exactly the same as anyone else's. So
True.
it's not a different type of degree. So they're just making that little distinction.
Gotcha. Excellent. Well, thank you very much for that information on Evergreen Tacoma. We have taken students to visit there many times, and hopefully again in the future we'll be able to do that again. So right now it looks like we have virtual tours. So thank you for being here with us today.
Well, we can actually have people come in person if they would like. You have to be masked and so forth, but we are open.
Okay.
We just are not holding classes in the building. All our classes are still virtual.
Oh, okay, great. So you folks can stop by and take a look.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, Aki, what do we got next?
All right, Terry. So, I think we jumped in pretty quick today. So let me just pull up our presentation.
Yeah, probably didn't even introduce myself. So my name is Terry Green. I'm the faculty counselor advisor in the EDI CARES department. And so my co-host, Aki.
Hi, everybody. Aki Smith from Pierce College EDI CARES team. I'm one of the retention managers and, co-host here with Terry. Been at Pierce since about 2017, and I work with students every day to help them connect with resources and opportunities. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. If you don't know about EDI CARES, it stands for the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion College Access, Retention, and Engagement Services Office. And this is where we seek to serve students who come from all across the Pierce College District, especially those students who are most resilient. We have a special focus on students who are the first in their family to graduate from college, students who come from low-income backgrounds, those who might be eligible for the Pell Grant and such, programs like work study, and then also making sure to serve our students of color, because we're all about advancing racial equity, closing opportunity gaps, and making sure that you finish with the degree that you want and that you deserve. Just for those of you who might be new to today's program, in the EDI CARES department, we offer 3 different types of federally funded grant programs, each at supporting a specific student population. So those are TRIO SSS, Aspire, and the LSAMP program. It looks like we have a few of our staff in the room, and we can always circle back, but for more information on how to join our programs, it'll be best to fill out our interest form here at bit.ly/EDI CARES app, and we'll be dropping a link there in the chat for you here in just a minute. Some of the benefits you get out of joining our programs: transfer assistance, which is what we're focusing on today, personal growth through academic and personal coaching, leadership opportunities and trainings, money matters, focusing on finances. Terry and I also host a series called Money Talks Tuesday, which if you haven't checked out already, We'll have another episode coming out in March, and we've got a whole YouTube channel full of videos from past episodes. And then also making sure to support students who come from multicultural backgrounds through programming that we have coming out later this month, like the Student of Color Empowerment Summit and Black Excellence Celebration, and much more. So for more information on that, make sure you fill out your interest form and we'll get you connected. In today's show, we had a little overview. So we did just introduce ourselves, and you just heard from Laurie Arnold from the Evergreen State College, Tacoma. And I think, Terry, the next thing that we've got on our agenda is to talk about the WUE. So would you mind introducing that? And I'll stop my screen share here in a sec.
Yes. So the WUE. Get to that. Okay. Is everybody, Aki, can you see what I'm sharing?
All right, taking over. There we go. Looks good.
All right, see the WUE there? Okay, so the WUE is basically kind of a short version for Western Undergraduate Exchange. And a lot of folks probably haven't heard about this. Some people have. Sometimes high school counselors will kind of let students know about this. Others are like, no one ever told me about this. So what happens here is some students want to go to another state, but it costs, this out-of-state tuition scares people into not even looking into it. And so the Western states, the Western Undergraduate Exchange is actually, click on the region here to kind of show you what this region is. There's, I think it's about 13 states, and these 13 states kind of got together and thought, well, hey, we want people kind of like, going to other states, but how do we do that? And so they created this exchange where, if Oregon sends 100 students to California, California is sending 100 students to Oregon. And so they have this exchange. And so any of these states that participate in this, you can actually basically pay just a little bit above in-state tuition. So I'll show you some examples, but 45,000 students saved over $451 million just in 1 year in 2019, 2020 through this exchange. And so I've had students use this to go to Hawaii, because when you first think about transferring to a college in Hawaii, you're like, oh my gosh, there's no way I could ever afford that. It must be very expensive. There's just no way, especially with out-of-state tuition on top of it. And so I'm here to show you kind of how to do this, how to get this tuition savings. Okay, so one of the things you can do is you can check out the savings. There's this WUE Savings Finder. Okay, everybody likes calculators and all that. And so
Hey,
here
Terry,
we are. Yes.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I don't know if your screen is frozen or if you're navigating with your mouse, but I'm only seeing the first like landing page for the WUE. Can we get like a yes, no? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Now it's changed. All right, great.
it's changed. That's weird. It's slow there.
Okay, now we're on the savings finder. Thank you. I just want to give you a heads up.
Okay, good. Yeah, I have two screens going back and forth, so that's probably confusing Zoom here. Okay, the savings finder. So you were able to see everything else I was talking about prior to this, right?
No, you were just on that main page.
Just on this page here. Okay, now savings finder. Everybody can see this?
Yep.
Okay, good. So this savings finder, the average student saves $9,000 a year. And there's several ways to check. You can look in certain states, you can look for certain degrees, certain student statuses, if you're a transfer freshman, whatever. Not all degrees and not all schools are included in this. So that's kind of why you want to just double check to see. And so as you can see, you want to go to University of Alaska, Anchorage, you can go there, Arizona. Maybe you want to go down there. It's a little a little warmer in Arizona. And you kind of see off to the right here, this WUE tuition. So the WUE tuition is for the year. And just for reference, for tuition for a year, let's look at UW Tacoma real quickly. Can everybody see UW Tacoma's tuition site here? Okay, so UW Tacoma is 4,066. Get my calculator out, times 3. So a year, it's basically $12,200 to go to UW Tacoma for a year. Okay, keep that $12,200 in mind there. And so as you scroll down, there's a lot of schools that are less than $12,000. Okay, some of them are a little more, but still, some of these are considerably less. Cal State University. We go down to California. You want to go to Colorado, University of Colorado. But let's talk about Hawaii here. University of Hawaii at Hilo. It's about $1,200 cheaper than going to UW Tacoma. We've had several students go here. Here's a list of the degrees that you can go into. And while it might not be every single degree that they have there, it's a large majority of them. And once you click on that, it will then take you to their actual WUE page for this particular school. And up here, it'll kind of give you a rundown of how it works. So if you wanted to go to the University of Hawaii at Hilo, the tuition a year, you would save $9,288. A resident would pay, living in Hawaii would pay $7,300. So you're about, what, $1,900 approximately more. But you've also saved $11,006, you've saved $9,000, but you're only paying $11,000, which is $1,200 cheaper. Now, a non-resident, if you don't use the WUE, you're paying over $20,000. So that's, important to know. Down here, the WUE rate for all transfers, yes, all majors count at University of Hawaii. Majors available online, no. And so I think that's the whole point of this, is they want you to come to physical campus. Is there a separate WUE application? Yes. And so there's links to that down here. So it's all on the same page. And then of course, GPA wise, they will have some kind of requirements that they want you to have. Sometimes they vary by major. And then there's some deadlines that they usually have in here too. So links to the school websites to talk about the program and everything. But that is kind of a way, if you want to study outside the state of Washington, where you feel like it's almost impossible to do because of out-of-state tuition, you can pay much less by using the WUE agreement. And so it's just an application. You fill it out and send it in. And, unless everybody's trying to get to one state and no one's trying to get to your state, I mean, there's, certainly probably some cutoffs there. So you want to do, just like anything else, apply early for these. So any questions about the WUE agreement or the WUE anything? And some of these schools are kind of like far away too.
Those are just some real opportunities to get some major savings, especially amidst the rising cost of higher education. So I really encourage students to take a look at the link that we just dropped into the chat, because I know we've got people in here who are exploring options in healthcare. Maybe you are connected to the military and you might have an inkling about future duty stations, or you are considering going out of state. And so these kind of resources can really help you with navigating and finding the right fit. That's
And some of
that's a great
these
point.
are really inexpensive. I mean, Montana State University, 6,000. And some of these might be 2-year schools, but Idaho State University, 8,800, University of Idaho, 9,000. Pierce College is just under 5,000. So some of these are even cheaper than going to Pierce. And so certainly a lot of opportunities out there. Okay. So if no questions about the WUE and the Savings Finder, then
I have a quick question, Terry,
yeah.
if you know the answer, because I was not aware of this. Thank you very much for sharing this. Wondering if you know, I can certainly research it myself if you don't. Does this include graduate programs at all, or is it just up to the baccalaureate?
I believe it's just the bachelor degrees. They'll list it on here. And Evergreen is part of this. I did not know if you knew that, but Evergreen is on here, and so you guys may have folks coming over from that. But at the top here, type of degree, the only choices are associate's, bachelor's, and certificate.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
yeah, probably not. And also, we have, if you would like to go to Saipan, we've had one student go there. That's a long flight. Hawaii is about halfway, but you are paying less than what you're paying to go to Pierce College. So anyway,
Sierra just dropped in the chat also that she made an attempt to go for graduate school, but it wasn't successful.
Oh man. Yeah. So anyway, definitely something to look into if you would like to go somewhere, then, because we just push everybody, go to UW Tacoma, go to Evergreen, go to CWU, go to all these PLU Tacoma schools and everything. And I know not everybody can get out of town based on, family situation. You married and have a couple kids and just can't really move everybody at once. And so we totally understand that. But if you have the opportunity to study in another state, it's a great opportunity. So just join our program and we'll help you out.
And just out of curiosity, for those of you who are able to get on a keyboard, we're wondering, what programs are you currently studying or interested in transferring to? I think that might be helpful for the next part when we jump into the Common App. But that can also help us, target this to make it as helpful and as relevant to you as well. So go ahead and take a minute to put those in the chat, and we'll try to work those into the rest of our time together.
Okay.
Terry, would now be a good time to transition to talk about the Common App?
Yes. Really quickly, I was going to show one other thing. As far as tuition and fees go, PLU's got a nice cost estimator. I typed all these numbers in, and so you don't have to use this necessarily if you go to PLU. You could type any tuition amount in here, even Pierce College's tuition amount, and it would kind of, calculate, you can put your grants and stuff in here, but you could do this with any school too, if you're thinking about different schools, and see what you'd have to take out in loans and things like that. So when you do get all your acceptance letters, you can actually go use the PLU. You just search their site, find the PLU cost estimator. The reason they have that there is because it's very expensive to go to PLU, and so certainly they needed to put something in here for folks to kind of figure out. But you could get a lot of grants and scholarships for PLU and still end up, needing $25,000 a year in loans. And so it's a great place to go if you can get the scholarships to pay for everything. But just keep in mind that at the end of the day, the cost of, and where you go, you really want to think, do I really want to pay loans for a long time or not? So see us in EDI Cares, and we'll certainly help you find a great path for you. Yes, let's move on to the Common App, because the only way we can get to PLU and some of these other schools is by application. And so we have this Common App, and so it's just basically commonapp.org. And I've already searched for Washington schools, and there's 12 schools in the state of Washington that actually use the Common App. The reason for that is, hey, it's easier to hire this company to do an application for you, so your IT department isn't sitting there trying to update this all the time. It's also easier for students because student can go apply to a dozen colleges in the state of Washington with one application. So it's a win-win situation. And so you have Gonzaga, PLU, St. Martin, Seattle Pacific, Seattle University, Evergreen State College, UPS, Washington State University, Whitman, Whitworth. So there's a bunch of colleges in here that you could actually use the Common App for. But we also want to kind of show you kind of how to use this. So Aki's going to share a screen and we'll talk about together some of the important pieces of this Common App. So in the Common App, it's got a bunch of things in there. But think about if you're applying to 5 or 10 schools and you have to type your, say, transcript in. Every single class you got to type in and doing that. So if your schools you're going to are there, you can type it all in one time and send it to like 10 schools.
So really quick, I was hoping that we could just get a quick kind of like pulse in the room to see how many people have heard of the Common App. If you can drop a 1 in the chat if you've heard of it, or drop a 2 if you haven't. Great, great, great. Okay, so we've got a few people who know, a few people who, this will be a learning experience, so that's great. Always happy to do that here at Transfer Thursday. And thank you also for those who were able to share some of your interest areas for programs. It looked like business was the overwhelming winner. So we might use that as an example as we start taking a look at some of the opportunities here. And let me pull up my screen. So once you've gone to the Common Application website and essentially set up your first account, the first thing that you'll do after you log in is it's going to try to have you set up a program or pick a program for you. While that's important, just know that you can always come back to that as a secondary step, because the biggest part of this application process is really going to be setting up your profile. So can folks see my screen right now where it says the app? Yeah, some head nods. Okay, great. A couple of things that we wanted to highlight, before the end of this time today, are in each of these sections. So we've got personal information, academic history, supporting information, and definitely, if you pick a specific program, let's say it's in healthcare, business, maybe you need to upload a portfolio of projects. There will be some supplemental materials here where you can do all of those things. So in the personal information section, most of this is stuff that you can do on your own, should be easily fillable in about 5 to 10 minutes. But here's one of the things that we think we want everybody to know, especially those of you who are connected to the TRIO and Aspire programs. As a participant in these federally funded grant programs, with a particular emphasis on serving first generation and low income students, you qualify for a fee waiver. I don't know if anybody has gone out and tried to start applying for transfer applications yet, but does anyone have an idea of how much it might cost to submit an application to a university on average? Put it in the chat if you got it. Terry, I can't see the chat, so let me know what they're saying.
$65 or more, 60 and up, $75, 65.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So let's say that you are a business major and there's an abundance of programs out here across Washington, maybe Oregon, Idaho, you're looking, right? And you've narrowed your selection down to your top 5 schools because you just can't decide. You want to know who's going to give you the best financial aid package and who's got the best study abroad programs and what have you. Laurie, if you're not already, please drop the application fee costs for Evergreen in there too. But let's say you have 5 colleges at an average of $60 each, right? And let's say all of them just so happen to be available through the Common App. Well, you use this fee waiver and you've just saved yourself on average $300 applying for all of those. And that's a benefit that you get for being a part of these programs. So this is one way that you can take advantage of, being in a federally funded grant program, and then also, maximize your chances of getting into the school that you want. The second piece that we wanted to highlight here is your academic history. So sometimes students will come into Pierce with, maybe a credit here or credit there, and they're not really sure whether they should count all of those up. Well, in the Common App, it is important that you list all of the colleges that you've attended. I haven't set this up entirely based off my own educational journey, but once you add a college in here, you're going to want to make sure to put in a request for a transcript. So at Pierce, I know that we use a digital transcript service called Parchment, and you can also have transcripts sent directly to your school that you're transferring to. You'll always want to make sure to check those requirements, especially if they're not on the Common App. But here it's telling you, it's already flagged that transcripts are required. Why is that important? Because they want to be able to track your college coursework. They want to know, what are the classes you've completed? What were those equivalent grades? And will you be able to come in at a guaranteed, academic standing? Meaning the difference between starting as a sophomore versus a junior. Are you major ready for the program that you're trying to get into? Those are all of the things that are pretty critical as you're filling out this application. So having accurate transcripts, I just can't stress that enough, in a list of your classes. And I'll round it out there by saying that some universities will allow you to apply to them even if you have classes in progress. So don't limit yourself, in your applications just because you might not be done with something yet. That was just one other point I wanted to make. Terry, did you want to jump in there, Laurie?
Yeah, applications, UW Tacoma's first application date basically isn't due in 5 days. And so for fall. And so if you want to go to UW in the fall, and you wait till April, you're pretty far behind as far as applying. Whereas some people might think, well, April, that's way ahead of time. Education, there's a lot of steps involved, and things, like UW has tens of thousands of applications, and so they just don't get through them in a couple weekends, and so it takes a little bit of time. Some schools will get back to you quicker than others, but these deadlines are early. Sometimes their scholarship deadlines are even earlier than their application deadline. February 1st is the scholarship application deadline for CWU. But the application to apply to CWU, there's people who apply in June and get into CWU. That's 5 months after the scholarship application's closed. And so at that point, when you're applying later like that, it's usually a lot of times space available basis. And so you're risking not getting in the longer you wait, especially for some of the competitive programs where there's lots of folks applying to. So apply really, really early. Like everything's early apply for. Like you apply for graduation at Pierce College 2 quarters before you graduate. Almost every student I talk to is like, oh, well, I don't need to apply for graduation. I still got a quarter left. And it's like, well, no, not quite. You got to turn that in because it takes 3 months to get it back. And so there's a lot of waiting, I guess, in education. So you want to prepare for that and get those things in early.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Terry. I wanted to circle back really quick and see if we can do a quick search to find some programs. So you'll see here that when you're looking for a program, usually these are talking about, specific going in for undergraduate. There's different ways of saying it. When people think about getting a bachelor's degree, right, baccalaureate, undergraduate, 4-year, degree or university, just know that these are common terms that we're using for the same thing, or undergrad, right? The shorthand version. I'm I'm wondering if we type in business programs, if it'll give us a report back. So here, just upon typing in some business, like business into a general search, it's bringing back Bachelor's of Business Administration programs, the School of Business in North Carolina, California, Massachusetts. Some of these have rolling admissions, meaning that they could start you in the fall, winter, spring, and that there's no, specific start date that would be required for this. And some are regular, meaning that they would start just in the fall. So those are things to keep in mind as you're looking at different programs. One of the other things I wanted to point out was that if you haven't already decided on a program or a place to look, a good way to kind of figure out where you might be headed is also to do a self inventory. And that's where I feel like this supporting information can be helpful. So in this section, this is one of the last things we wanted to point out, the experiences section. Colleges care about who is applying to their institution, not just because of the good grades that you've gotten, or high marks and awards, but also the type of person who's going to contribute to that campus culture. And so when we talk about experiences, right, it can come from this whole list. Things are like community engagement, extracurricular activities, which is a very broad category and term, taking care of family, hobbies, volunteering, work, internships, research. I know just from my own experience working with students in our programs that there are many of you who are caregivers, right? Your parents. You are so many things and different roles that you play out in your family's life and then also out in your community. And those are things that you should claim and get credit for, especially in an application process. Now is an interesting time in terms of extracurricular activities, but we've had student clubs and organizations that take place at Pierce College. And extracurricular can also include travel internationally, right? Do you speak another language? Do you volunteer in your community or your, in a faith tradition, right? And you have a faith community where you've got service projects through. And so there's a way, I think, to frame some of this, right? It's telling them what you were doing, right? How you were doing it, and then why. And if you can do that in just a couple short sentences, then you can highly increase your chances of being considered for whatever opportunity you might be applying for, especially when it's a competitive program. If you want more information on that, we can talk about that in another version of Transfer Thursday about scholarships and how to write for those. So we are bumping up here against time, but I want to stop my share and make sure to turn over the last few minutes to students who might have questions or even comments. And so, yes, now is your time, and thank you again for joining us. Yeah, back to you, Terry.
All right, thank you, Aki. Any questions about anything? I mean, covered several things. The Evergreen State College, the Common App, the WUE agreement, a lot of things out there. Is there anything that anybody has any questions about that we could help answer? Type it in the chat. Go ahead. Yeah.
So mine's not really a question, but it's more kind of a comment. Even when I meet with my advisor, I have a year left on my program. So next year, this quarter, I would be graduating. And she is always under the impression that I'm supposed to still wait to apply for any other programs. And even though I have a year left, you saying like, hey, you have deadlines here and there, it's still kind of like it brought it up to mind and made me understand that, hey, I need to start applying and figuring out what I'm going to do for the next few quarters.
Yeah, I mean, if you know when you're done at Pierce, then you're going to kind of know probably when you want to start at the next school you're going to go to. And if you're done next winter, you said?
Yes.
That would mean you would either A, start that following spring, which would just be like in April, or if you're going to a semester school, you may have to wait till, later, like summer or fall. So for deadlines for fall of 2023, next fall, there will be deadlines probably coming up. Well, it depends on what state you're going to. Deadlines can be as early as this coming November, December, and then in the state of Washington, you'll see a lot of deadlines in like February and March. And so I would, but applications open, those are deadlines. Applications are usually open for 2 months at least before the first deadline. And so you would be probably then, seeing deadlines open a good 9 months or more sometimes before you start. So that would be November, December, January, and then deadlines actually, well, I mean, if the deadline's in February, it's probably going to open in like December. They're going to give you at least, 6 to 8 weeks minimum to get that done. So yeah, definitely go to the school's websites you want to go to, and check out their deadlines, opening and closing. There's deadlines of priority deadlines, and then kind of like a hard deadline where like, okay, nobody after this at all. Scholarship deadlines. Sometimes there's 2 applications. You got to apply to the university, and then you got to apply to the college at the university. So maybe we use business. So maybe you apply to the University of Washington, and their deadline is February, but the School of Business at UW's deadline is a month later on say March 15th. So you got a February 15th to the university deadline and a March 15th deadline to the college at the university. So one of the nice things is, wherever you want to go, check with one of their advisors. There's going to be admissions counselors, folks very similar to like Laurie Arnold, our guest today, who can kind of like, let you know when those are and when you need to do what you need to do. Pretend like at Pierce College, pretend like you're a freshman or a sophomore at the college you're already going to go to. If you were at PLU right now as a freshman or a sophomore, would you wait 2 years wait till you're a junior before you started asking questions? No. So you just pretend like you're already there. Have that mindset that I need to be asking those questions and doing that now. And that's going to help out a lot in making sure that you have all that information and you don't miss out on anything.
And you don't have to do that alone, Mirna. I want you to know that, as a student and a leader in this program, right, we're here to help hold you accountable to your goals. And so if you need help tracking some of those things or setting up a system for it, that's what our appointments are for. And I'm always happy to help. I think we actually have one later today. So,
yeah.
it's great to hear you asking these questions. And I just also wanted to say that for nursing schools, most of the time, those are competitive programs, right? So
Yeah.
even now is a time to start looking for opportunities where you can volunteer in a medical setting. So that way, by the time the application's coming, you can already say you've got some of those connections set up and that you're working on it. Yeah. Sometimes the application is just the first step, right? Then there's multiple rounds of selection. But if you can always find somebody who's been through it and came out on the other side to help give you that coaching, there's nothing like having that kind of mentorship and support. And so we're just one part of a team, right? And we'll try to help you find the other people to build that support network.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, everything we've talked about, certainly this network you're in here with the EDI, even though you're also working here, definitely for all students that join, that's what we do, is we'll help you figure these things out. So it's nice having a second set of eyes, a second advisor type person that kind of looks through this stuff with you, because you're right. Sometimes other folks you talk to in the college may not have the same experiences and or knowledge of certain things. And so having 2 people to ask is a great thing. And so it's great to have you in our program. Okay, let's see. It says I have to go. Okay, hey, you're welcome. Yeah, someone. Cool. Okay. that was going to be a question, but he was just thanking us for today. So,
All right.
All
Well, you want me to let me know, Terry, when you want me to wrap it up on the recording.
yeah, let me just do that right now. So, hey, I'd like to thank everybody for coming today. It's been a great pleasure having you on the Winter 2022 Transfer Thursday edition here at Pierce College in the EDI department. And so check us out, EDI CARES at the Pierce College website, Lakewood and Puyallup and Fort Lewis, McCord, Washington. And so you guys take care, have a great day, and we'll see you next time on Transfer Thursday.